There's a lot of cigars that's been all around the world in a lot of different places, but this one right here, the El Santimo Bardo, it's smooth. It's got a lot of heritage. It's got a lot of history, but it's a trendsetter, just like my guest right here.
Hey.
Hall of Famer Spencer Haywood. Let's join the Humidor.
Who want the smoke?
We don't smoke cigars from the corner store like to welcome you to the Humidor.
Who want the smoke?
We don't smoke cigars from the corner store like to welcome you to the Humidor, right?
Who want the smoke?
We don't smoke cigars from the corner store like to welcome you to the Humidor.
I can do this easy with a blindfold. My cigar look like a pine cone. Sitting back on my iPhone, smoking out in my time zone. Got the Patron and I'm ready to smoke. Patakas in action, I'm doing the most. Look forward to minute, I feel like the GOAT. Tour for one day, I'm back in the boat. Watching the Humidor, that is the show. Walking my later, I'm ready to blow. Grabbing my coat and I'm ready to go. Look at my diamond crown, I got the glow. I'm giving them wisdom, I'm giving them knowledge. Give me a minute, I'll open my wallet. Cut the cigar and I'll smoke like a challenge. You watching the Humidor, what's that just symbolic?
We don't smoke cigars from the corner store like to welcome you to the Humidor.
Welcome back to Chocolate City, right here in Las Vegas, Nevada, home of the stars, home of the bright lights, and we have to pay homage, and I'm paying big homage to one of the guys who set the precedent so I can play and live how I live. Many opportunities of meeting and hanging around with this person. The knowledge, the experience, the camaraderie, the jokes, the lovingness. My man, Spencer Haywood, thank you so much, man, for being on the Humidor. I want to start by just thanking you. I mean, for what you have done for me as a player and a person, my family, it's just tremendous. We're going to get into that, but how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm just happy that you called me, and I'm happy to see you because, you know, we traveled the world for a minute.
Yes, sir.
Getting right spiritually and physically.
Yeah.
And that was beautiful. That was a beautiful journey.
Yeah, we can get right into that, man. We took a trip with the NBA Retired Players Association to Israel. Got a chance to go to Jerusalem and see all of these places that, you know, we see in movies, television, we read about in the Bible, and really connect. And it just, I don't think it was kind of set that me and you just kind of got this brotherhood, but it was fabulous, man.
It was fabulous. We got a chance to travel to Megiddo, the mountain, and we spent time there. We went down the Jordan River, the old gospel song, "Meet me at the Jordan River." You know, so we all of that history was just folded up. And then when we decided to go over to the Dead Sea, and that was just so awesome because here we were floating and not sinking, so yet that great salt was healing of the body and everything. So it was just
so amazing because even at our size, to lift us up. Like as soon as you got waist high, it's like somebody was pushing you up, man. Just the minerals and everything. And I think, now I'm not sure, is that part of the remnants of when they said the Israelis was moving out of Egypt, that they walked across the sea? I'm not sure. I'm not sure either. It's documented, but we don't know.
It's documented. A lot of false documentation over in that area.
Real spill. Talk about the camaraderie of not only your teammates, but your opponents, people you played against. How us as a fraternity that we stay together and bond together as basketball players.
Well, we are starting to understand that we are the caretakers of what we have built. And so what is happening now is that we have young players who do not have that history, so that they don't know that, you know, sacrifice was made so that they could have this illustrious life that they're living. And so it kind of hurts the leg in a way because they don't know that you have to have some physicality, you got to fight. And I'll see players coming down 3-on-1 and they're shooting out to the 3-point line. And that is, for a fan to look at that, it just tears them up inside to see that kind of play. So I think that with you, myself, and Oscar Robertson is coming out and speaking to players, it seems to be the commissioner Adam Silver is saying, you know, we're going to need you guys to kind of tell these guys that what they're doing is not right. And a lot of them, they like the lifestyle. They love, you know, the ambiance of the game and all of the stuff, but they don't like to put in the work. Yeah,
it's a little different. You talk about the youth. When you watch the game now, on any level, high school, college, professional, overseas, where do you see it? Who do you admire and like to watch? Or would you slice your credit card and pay a ticket to see?
I've always loved LeBron James because he plays physical. It was my style of play, and even though he shoots outside and handles the ball sometimes a bit much, but I like his style of play. Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Chris Paul is just still a master. Some of the young guys I see that's rolling really nice is Heidelberg and the kid from Oklahoma, Shea Gilders.
Yeah,
he's something.
Yeah. He doesn't open his mouth a lot, man, but
no. When he make a move, I saw him make a move and he dunked. He didn't stand over the guy and everything. Because, you know, back in our day, even going back to my days in the early 70s, you'd have hit him in this ball. You standing over you like that. What the hell is you going on?
I say that to my kids all the time. Like, one, you can't fight. You grew up in the suburbs.
Right.
So, not saying that everybody in the suburbs can't fight, but secondly, doing all that dancing in people's face, in the era, I came in that era that just wasn't happening.
It wasn't. It was even so dunk, disrespectful.
Even a dunk, was disrespectful. It was like, wait, you trying to show me out?
Show me out.
And that, it just the showmanship and everything obviously has changed. But how far can it go?
I think we're hitting rock bottom now.
Okay.
And we are going to now focus in on the fundamentals. And the perfect team for showing us how to play the game the right way is Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yes, Donovan, the Spider.
They're playing the right way, though. They go inside out. They don't start outside in. They are like, they move the ball real well. They are not afraid to get the 2-point shot. Whereas, like, to get players out of their natural rhythm, and especially black players, they created this thing of, like, you know, Euro ball, and it has destroyed the creativity of the black athlete because they always thinking, well, should I take the extra step, or should I do this, and should I do that? So it's a little bit, screwed up at this time, but I think that we're at rock bottom now because we're down 35% in terms of viewership, and so we're going to have to go back to fundamentals because people love fundamentals. They love the old style,
and they love a good rivalry and fight too. Talk about you said the Euro ball when it's no longer with us. David Stern took out the hand checking, took out the trash talking, took out the aggressiveness of the basketball player. And you saying it's taken away from the black athlete by doing that because that's where we grew up.
That's the way we grew up, and we are a physical group. I mean, that is our DNA, and that's why I don't want to get too deep into it, but that's the original man. We were strong, like Hannibal, when we conquered all of Europe, as we moved all the way down through Mexico. Because when Christopher Columbus came to America, he didn't discover yellow Native American. He discovered black Indians. Because we had been here for 10,000 years.
Right.
Olmec heads are sitting right there in Mexico City as we know today. So
it took a couple of years for them to realize that this is the untruth that you guys have been telling for a while. They changed the Columbus Day names. The history of the game had just blossomed as far as social media. You could bring back videos and have them in your phone, have them in the palm of your hand, showing people exactly the way you guys set the payment for us. And so let me ask you, during that, do you know when you were coming up, 60s, 70s, in the early 80s, that you were a part of something as big as what it is now?
Yeah, I knew because, let me just explain to your audience about my case. the case Haywood versus the NBA, which was wrapped around, we had to cover the NC2A, the NIL, and professional football. So by that I mean, it took, before I came along, you had to wait for 4 years after your high school class had graduated before you could go pro.
Before you can make a living.
Before you can make a living. Now, whereas in tennis, hockey, baseball, et cetera, they could go, which would mean white sports. You could go in. But the black sports, we were still doing the slave trade business,
right,
where, you can play here, but you got to give us 4 years of slavery, and we'll give you a hot dog at the end of your 4 year.
Yeah, you're talking about the college game.
The college game, yeah.
Obviously now the NIL has taken off, and because of our guy Ed O'Bannon has went to case for us, but you weren't getting paid. I remember me as a college kid, and I say it all the time, I got a mattress. That was my recruiting bonus, so to speak, for me to sign with Cal State Fullerton. Obviously,
you get a good mattress.
I mean,
what the heck?
It's better than sleeping on the ground.
But I guess what? Cal State Fullerton was making over $10 million off of you.
Yeah, and no
profit sharing.
Yeah.
Only with the idea that in 1956, when they came up with the idea of student athlete. Hey,
and see, that's what he means by, 4 years of slavery in the college atmosphere as far as an athlete. Now, at that time, knowing, were you fearful? Were you afraid?
I was very fearful.
Because I might jeopardize my opportunity to be a pro athlete.
I was putting it all on the line.
Yeah.
And so what happened was, even though I had moved up to Detroit, Michigan in high school, my mother and my family was still in the poorest county in Mississippi, Silver City, Mississippi. There ain't no city and it ain't no silver, just cotton fields.
Just cotton fields. Right.
So my mother was like struggling. So my first trip to go to college, I signed with the University of Tennessee.
Yes.
And in doing so, Adolph Rupp said, I lost to 5 blacks the year before, which was Texas Western. I'm supposed to have this next guy. And it was just stuff going on back and forth between the two. And then finally, we decided to leave and go to Trinidad in Colorado. I went to Trinidad in Colorado, and all of a sudden, in 1968, the Olympics rolled around. And so at that time, they didn't allow freshmen and young players to play at all. So Kareem boycotted. Elvin Hayes signed a pro contract. Wes Unseld signed his pro contract, so they didn't have to go because it was a black boycott in 1968. Thus, you have the Tommy Smith and John Carlos, raising of the fist.
Black glove, raising of the fist.
Yeah, and so they selected me, and they cut Pete Maravich, they cut Rick Mount, Calvin Murphy, Tom Bowinkle, and they said, the young boy's going to do it. And I was like, oh. So I was supposed to be that leader at age 19 as the Olympics turned around. I turned that, can I say the word?
Yes, sir.
I turned that stuff out.
Yes, you did.
And I set a record that lasted for 44 years in terms of the most points in the history of America at the age of 19. So I flash back to that point and say, do you know, 3 years before I was picking cotton for $2 a day, and now I am an American hero, saved this country from the commie Russian bastards.
Wow, that's unbelievable. Shouts out to Kevin Durant, because Kevin Durant just surpassed your record.
He did, yes.
In this previous.
But he was shooting threes.
He was shooting threes, exactly. Yeah. That's what I say all the time when they always make this Kareem Abdul-Jabbar comparison.
Yeah.
Because Kareem made 1 3-pointer his whole career.
Correct.
I love you, LeBron, but Kareem didn't have the 3-pointer.
Now we're going to go down this road.
But before we do, let's take a little break. Let's take a little break.
You'll take a break?
And we'll be right back. Mr. Haywood and the Humidor.
When it comes to protecting your auto, home, and business, you need a game plan that wins.
That's right. At Ayala Insurance, Steve and his team not only play defense, but they put a full court press to get you the best coverage at the best price.
We work hard to get the coverage you need without breaking the bank.
Ayala Insurance, it's a slam dunk.
Call us today and we'll get you covered.
Ayala Insurance. Protection you can count on, prices you can afford.
19 years old, getting on a plane, going to the Olympics. The significance of that, obviously, if you're 19 years old, you can imagine, obviously taking a flight over the water. Mm-hmm. But how were you feeling at the time? Do you know that this was going to be historic? Not only the Olympics, but just what you were doing.
Well, I knew that my mother's prayers and my family prayers, and I was well trained in Detroit in high school for just this occasion. And so when I got there, the other guy that was the other young player on the squad, but not the basketball squad, was George Foreman. Okay. So, and there was a saying going on in the Olympic Village: you want to find Spencer Haywood or George Foreman, go to the commissary.
They gonna be there.
Yeah, they gonna be there because we was trying to eat them out of our house and home. So the Olympics started, and the first events were the long jump, and Bob Beeman ran up to the bench and hit it, and he hit the second one, and he spread out. He jumped out of the pit, a record.
Wow.
And then the next one was Tommy and John was racing, and we were like, John, don't look over, because the race was that tight. And he looked over. That's why he ended up in third place.
Wow.
And so they were talking about, to us like, Haywood, you the star of the basketball team. You're gonna have to make a stand with us, bro. I said, yeah, I got you, man. Everything is cool. And so they were talking about the glove. And the first thing I said was, it ain't gonna fit my hand. It's long before Johnny Cochran.
No OJ.
No JK said. So we finished the Olympics and everything, and then they threw them out of the Olympic Village.
Wow, man.
Sent them out of the Olympic Village,
Wow.
Gold and silver.
Wow.
And it was going to take our passports. So if we did anything that's uncomfortable with the Olympic Committee, stuck in Mexico City.
Freedom of speech had nothing to do with it.
No, man. So I was all nervous because all of my people in Detroit, man, you went to the Olympics. Kareem didn't go. Shoot, what are you doing at the Olympics? So, and I had to fly back to the University of Detroit because I had signed out of the Olympics to go back to Detroit to save my city because we had the riots of 1967. And so I was worried, man, these brothers gonna be like really bad on me. So when the plane landed, there was like 4,000 black folks out there waiting and saying, you did it, young man. You did it. And that was like a tearful moment.
You think that was the togetherness of the protests, that they understood, okay, even though we tried to boycott it, that didn't happen, but the ones that represented us came through with flying colors. So let's greet
we
this
are
guy.
So proud, and so they came to the Metro Airport to greet me.
That's huge.
And that was so huge to me.
Yeah.
Because it's just a beautiful journey of being in that Olympics and then having that gold medal on your neck, and then we had Governor Romney, not the current Romney, but this father. And we had Mayor Kavanaugh, which was probably the last black mayor that we had in Detroit for a while. And so, and we had all of the ambiance of the city of Detroit, the politicians and everybody. And we were trying to rebuild it. And shortly after that, the Tigers won in '68. And that hyped us up a lot. And then I was the MVP in college. And Kareem was the MVP. I was the outstanding player in college. So we were like the two All-Americans. And the draft came up that year where the NBA, the ABA wanted Kareem to shake up everything and bring him into the ABA. They offered him all kinds of money, and they didn't get him. So they came to me. Hannah Storm's father, Mike Storm, said.
Storm,
So Mike says, let's go for the real deal. So he signed me to a contract, and I'm 19, the youngest player in the history of all this. And he says, now if you can get 7 points and 5 rebounds, this gamut will work, and then we can go after Julius Erving and George Gervin and all the other players that want to leave college early. And so I got lucky that year and did 30 points and 20 rebounds.
You talking about lucky, man?
Yeah, was Rookie of the Year, MVP of the league, MVP of the All-Star game.
19, 20 years old.
Yeah,
doing it. Now let's hold that thought just for a second, Spence, because obviously it's been noted and documented. Rest in peace, Muhammad Ali, aka Cassius Clay. When he came back with his gold medal, he couldn't even get a meal. In certain places, he still, he said he chunked it in the water.
Yeah.
You're at a point now where you're a hero, not only in Detroit, Mississippi, but all worldwide.
All world.
But financially, Detroit,
I couldn't eat that medal.
Couldn't eat that medal.
Couldn't eat that medal, brother.
You know what I'm saying? And was that, and then you also still got sharecroppers and cotton pickers, family blood in Mississippi. How was the decision? You're like, I got to do something for my family. I can't do this hero without getting.
Well, picking cotton, you have a sack on your neck, and you pick cotton with both hands. And my mother had been picking cotton since she was 4 years old.
Wow.
Her back had went out, so she was crawling on the ground, scrapping cotton.
Unbelievable.
And she'd fill up the sack, and then she would go back, and somebody had to help her get the sack to the trailer and dump it out and go back out into the field. Now, at that time at the University of Detroit, we had NBC, we had all of the major media were following me, and here I am saying I'm going to play in the pros, and guess what Mike did at the press conference? He says, this is going to stop him, because the NCAA was like, hang him, kill him, do whatever. He's breaking all of our rules. What about our economics? We're not going to be able to survive. So
there's thousands of college athletes, but you're the one that's going to mess everything
up. So because I was changing the rule, and Wilt Chamberlain had told me when I changed the rule, he said, you're smarter than I am. I would never have taken a chance, because what he did in his senior year in college, he went to play for the Globetrotters for a year, and then came into the league.
Yeah.
But God, man, that was a battle that was taking place. When I walked into the arena in Seattle, just moving ahead, because I wanted to play in the NBA, so I signed with the Seattle Supersonics. And Sam Schulman, who was the owner of the Sonics, who was a good man. Lenny Wilkins was my player coach, who played and coached. And Rod Thorne was the assistant coach, and he played. And Tom Masheri was the associate coach, and he played. So we had nobody in a suit. And guess who was in the picture? Because I was young like he was, he made all of the pictures, and he talk about it all the time. Rick Wells.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Rick, it was my ball boy. And the guy that I was closer in age, because the other guys was like 30-something and stuff. And I'm going to the Supreme Court. I hadn't turned 21 yet, so I couldn't go in. I had to sit in with the ball boy.
Rick Wells, ball boy at first in Seattle, then he went to the NBA office. He was a Phoenix Suns CEO, and now I think he's one of the high vice presidents with the Golden State Warriors.
No, but he just left that position. Now he's the CEO of the Dallas Mavericks.
CEO of the Dallas Mavericks. Wow. So he just ball boy with you, and you never know.
That's my ball.
That's why I keep hanging around you, because someday
something's going to happen.
Something is going to happen. Okay. So now
I go. Listen. So I come into Seattle. We go out on the floor, and I walk out on the floor, and I'm getting ready to warm up play. So the NBA slams me with an injunction.
On the floor?
On the floor while I'm warming up. And they said, ladies and gentlemen, we have an illegal player on the floor, number 24. This game is being played under protest. So we couldn't win. So we finished that game. Then we would travel to other games. And in Cincinnati, we were playing the Cincinnati Royals, the great Oscar Robertson, those guys, Jerry Lucas, and all of those guys. So they made the announcement and said, he cannot play in this arena. So they got their injunction was to put me outside of the arena into the snow. So they put me out there, and I didn't get a chance to get my warm-up gear, so I'm freezing like crazy out there because I was an illegal player. And then the police department in Cincinnati, they felt really bad about this young kid standing out there in the snow, so they said, we're going to lose our jobs because we can't let this happen. So
Wow.
get in the car, warm up, and when the game is over, you got to make it back over to the arena, and we can't be seen doing this.
Yeah.
So we sat in the car talking about Mississippi,
That's huge.
Detroit, and stuff like that. And these was white guys, you know, they just saw the intenseness of
They
what
saw
was
the
going
wrong was wrong.
The wrong
and
was
it
wrong.
didn't matter the color.
Did not
or-
matter. It was like, I'm going to do the right thing by you.
Yeah.
And so that gave me a lot of encouragement. And then the case maneuvered its way on in through the lower courts all the way to the Supreme Court. And Thurgood Marshall said, we got all of our young men going to Vietnam at age 18, dying for a cause. And yet you saying this young man here can't make any money to save his mother from picking cotton. She's crawling on the ground.
Yeah.
I'm going to rule in favor of Spencer Haywood.
Wow.
And that from that ruling alone, in basketball, we have helped to make players over $65 billion in players' salary revenue.
$65 billion.
Billion.
Without Spencer Haywood, we don't see
You don't see Jordan Allen.
Moses Malone,
You don't see Moses. You
Daryl
don't-
Dawkins,
You don't see Dawkins. Those are the high
Kevin
schoolers.
Garnett, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James. I mean, I can go on.
But
Will.
but also you don't see Irvin Magic Johnson.
Magic
You don't
Johnson.
see Michael Jordan. You don't see any of these players.
that can leave in what they called back then hardship.
Hardship.
You would
But you
call
know what
hardship.
Thurgood Marshall told me to do? He said, you better file and put your name on this ruling, the Spencer Haywood name on that ruling, because you've been fighting against the system, son, and they gonna take your name, gonna make you seem like you just the worst thing that ever happened. So before I could get on the court the next game, they had started calling it the hardship rule.
Wow.
They took me right out of it.
Wow.
And then the next rule that they call it was the hardship rule, early entry, and then one and done. So now Adam is trying to make it maneuver it back to the Spencer Haywood rule. But do you know who is total against all of that? The players that I helped, the black folks.
Wow. They don't want to change the name with something that you.
No, they think that, you know, when people see them, they say, oh man, y'all should be really taking care of that brother there, of course, what he went through, you know, old school people who knew what the case was about. And they think that, you know, he's going to try to ask us for money.
No.
Wow, what kind of mean spirit is that? So recently, I was sitting with, I'm not ready to out him yet, but I was sitting with a key person, and I asked him, I said, man, Oscar Robertson is traveling around right now because his wife is very ill, and he need home health care, which is about $130,000 a year, which is, you know, I see the guys come here and they throw that away in no time. But I mentioned it to him, and boy, they went nuts on me. Wanted to throw me off the board.
Wow.
Everything. I said, Lord, what happened to us, man?
It's
What happened to our people?
they don't understand the education that they need.
But
to
they
know.
seem like they don't want to know anything.
You gotta bring it
It's
back.
me, I. So it goes back to the idea that we were talking about, the importance of us telling this story and being around. And now the NBA is letting us come, because they had me and Oscar at the play-in tournament and all of that stuff, to talk about these things. And players was like, really? So the young guys from Milwaukee and also Atlanta and Oklahoma City, they were like, I'm playing hard, because Oscar and I was telling them, you practice for 2 hours? Yeah. What else you do? Oh man, I go play some video games and stuff. We said, no. This is like cotton picking, man. We was up from slavery. We played 6 hours. We practiced. We got ready, because we know we had to set the table for you guys who are coming.
Yeah.
And so that's
The
been
history of the game.
History of the game.
It's living proof right
And
here.
that's why we have a fall off in terms of ratings and other things, because we are playing a Euro game in America.
Euro game in America. We're going to talk more about that when we come back. And also, this man is supposed to be a billionaire, and I'll tell you, as soon as we get back, Mr. Humidor.
I'm not getting too deep for y'all over there.
For the last 25 years, Ayala Insurance has helped families and businesses find the right insurance at the best price. Our agents work for you, not the insurance companies, ensuring you get the best rate. We offer auto, home, life, renters, and commercial insurance. We can even cover your car in Mexico with 6 Valley locations, including 2 with motor vehicle services. We're your one-stop shop for insurance and DMV needs. So if you're looking for a local insurance company with the personal touch, call Ayala Insurance today.
I'm a sneakerhead. I can't help it. I love sneakers. I can't remember the last time I wore a pair of hard shoes.
Yeah,
but
I feel you. Look,
yeah.
sneakers.
And you happen to be wearing the brand of Nike.
Yeah.
When you're in Seattle, obviously, there's a young man selling running shoes out of his trunk
of his
at
car.
the time. And
he was in Portland. He came up to Seattle.
Because
I was the second runner-up to the MVP of the league that year.
And he knew in order for him to take off, he needed Spencer Haywood.
Yeah.
And we're talking about Phil Knight, CEO,
Nike.
owner, founder of Nike. And he came to you with a deal.
Yeah.
He came to you with a deal, endorsement deal. And you like, wait a minute, man, I'm playing basketball. What's these running shoes gonna do for me?
Yeah, well, what he did, he had created this shoe similar, and he called it a Bruin because of UCLA, and that was the first shoe of that kind. And so he came in and he said, "Man, we're gonna be able to put it. This shoe, you can buy this shoe, your shoe, out of Dave Cook's Sporting Good." So we shot the poster. Everything was great, and then he says, "Well, I'm going to give you a percentage of the company." And, you know, being an old boy from down south, when he said, I'm going to give you some stock, I'm like, hey, man, I don't have no more pigs and animals. I ain't livestock.
Yeah. I need this cash.
I need some money.
Yeah.
And so my agent couldn't figure out how to get his 10% out of the deal. And since I had just came out of court, he had the power of attorney. He sold my stock because he was having a short terms and just getting started, so he wanted to, you know, live in his house. So he sold my stock, and so today that stock is worth $2.8 billion.
$2.8 billion off of
And then also when I went into the locker room in the All-Star game, Wilt Chamberlain, Oscar Robertson, and Jerry West, you can't wear that stuff in here. Because it was a new shoe. And it was like, if you didn't have a Converse or an Adidas, maybe a Pro Kid, but that other shoe there, it's a Newport cigarette. It looks like a Newport cigarette logo turned upside down.
So when I talk to you about the history of not only the game, but also the apparel, the footwear, this guy right here, I mean, we celebrate Michael Jordan's achievement.
No, Jordan is when I get together with Michael, he just gotta blab his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first billionaire that don't have the money.
Classic, Mike. You gotta come on the show, man. You gotta.
Yeah, you gotta come on, Mike. You gotta come out. And you have to appear and just, you know, talk some good stuff.
Yeah.
Don't sit around playing golf all the time. Be a part of all of us, you know, because we have made, me in particular, because he left college early under the Spencer Haywood rules. So he's a good brother, man. He need to see you. This is going to be the show that everybody's going to come on and sit in the big chair.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. You signed the contract. Obviously, you didn't get what you wanted to get, but then you know, posters. This is something that's unheard of. I mean, obviously, Arthur Ashe really was the first athlete to really like, this is my own brand, and coming across with tennis.
I was in basketball. I was the poster, the poster child for basketball.
That's huge, man.
Yeah,
that's really big.
For Nike.
For Nike.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. we talked earlier about the physicality of the game, and you had, I know you don't toot your own horn, but you did have a inside outside presence as well as the physicality of the game. But do you think now, when you played, or the game that's played now, the carrying of the wins and losses are a little bit different than they are now? Is it just a dollar thing that's going on with the game?
The dollar thing has made it incomprehensive in a way that you're in high school,
Mm-hmm.
you get tagged with the NIL, you get $1 million. You got a shoe contract. You have, you walk in, you push the veterans down the bench because they are productive. Instead of earning that position, you have to just take it. You just take it because they give it to you. So you have all of those things, and so our players don't have the fundamentals that they need to play this game. They have the talent. They have a lot of talent. They are some of the best athletes you ever want to see, but they missing that total gap. And that's where we come in to re-educate them about this gap. Now, this particular show you're doing today, it's going to probably go through go to the Players Association. The Players Association is going to get it out to the players because they got to know this kind of stuff, because they don't appreciate the sacrifice that was made so that they could be where they are today.
Yeah, there was I don't know if it was a documentary or a mini-series called The Lake Show.
Yeah.
That came out, and it really showed the friendship of you and who myself and everybody else thinks is a guy who's really to himself and a lot. Mr. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, aka Luau Sindor.
Yeah.
How did that friendship start, man? Just because the competitive side of you two?
No,
coming
we
out
played
of Detroit, New York, or that thing?
Yeah, no, we played. We were like the two best college players.
Okay.
When we played.
Okay.
And then when
because it was you, Elvin Hayes, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar,
and Pete Maravich.
Pete Maravich, yes, yeah, with the top four.
Calvin Murphy.
Calvin, I forgot about Calvin Murphy.
Murphy.
Oh my God.
Woo. So
quick, super quick.
So Kareem was working on a Accord. It's a car, vintage car, and he used to come up to Seattle, and I used to give him my bedroom to stay in. Like, come on, just stay with me, because we were jazz cats. We were not really, like into a lot of things. We listened to jazz. We made our salats. We made our prayers, and did all of the stuff. And we were just working on that. And then once he had a blow up in Washington, some people who he was putting up in the Muslim family, they got off the track, and there was a shooting and stuff like that. So everybody was like, man, you can't be around Kareem. You know, I had a word in the leg. Don't be around him, man, la, la, la. I was like, hey, man, come on up here to me.
Yeah.
So he came to Seattle and stayed with me, and we hung. And that sucker was training and running the Green Lake, nearly killed me. I was like,
trying to compete with Kareem on the
we was competing because we was always competing, but it taught me to do that. And then when I was getting ready to get married to Iman, the model, the fashion model, Kareem was my second man, but he had got caught up in something that he had to do in LA, so I had another brother, Abdul Gamal, and Ron Carter, the bass player.
Okay.
They came and set in.
Yeah.
But Kareem and I have been dog type. Still
cool.
is.
That's cool. Did he? Because Bruce Lee is Seattle.
He's Seattle too. Oh, he was up there with all of us.
Oh man.
Yeah. Bruce Lee, the family up there, and he was creating this 1938 Accord. It's an automobile. It was beautiful.
Wow.
It was beautiful.
Jeez.
So we hung out up there, and we hung, and
Yeah, I mean, you got to be on top of the world at this point, man. You done went to the Supreme Court. You won there. You one of the top basketball players in the world, not the nation, in the world. Right. And then Monty comes in, man. You, the supermodel of the world. You get married, man. I've seen some of the older pictures that you shared, and also your apartment buildings, your condos, your vehicles, man.
Yes.
Living that life.
It was new, and it was funny because we have a daughter and a granddaughter, and she's putting together some slides of her family, you know.
Because you're not that sexy to me. I don't
I
understand.
know I'm not.
I don't know how, I don't, you know.
But she couldn't keep her hands off of me. It was like, girl, please, come on, let me leave.
How did you guys meet?
We met, I was meeting her roommate at a place called, one of the restaurants on 64th and Broadway in New York. She had just came in from Somalia and was just a new model on the scene. Peter Beard, who was married to later on to Cheryl Teague, who had discovered her. And so we were having dinner, and I'm looking at her roommate that I'm going to be supposed to be the date. And I'm looking at Iman, and I'm like, wow, because she had on her African garb with her face covered over there because she's a Muslim. And so, and we left that particular night at that event and walked out of there holding hands because she was coming in from Africa and, you know, like a different experience. And I was basically a country boy from Mississippi, but living in New York. I had been around the world and everything. So we hit it off and we hung and we stayed in love for years until I got to LA. And when I got to LA with the Lakers 10 years later in our marriage, I got to experiment with cocaine in a freebase form. And when I did that, my whole world just crumbled.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, it's crumbled, man.
Wow.
My marriage,
do you know you was going through this while you were in this addiction?
Yeah, well, I had the big river in Egypt on my side. And I'll give you an example. We would do film section afterwards, and Magic and Kareem was like, "Wood, you're not rolling on the picks here, man." And then Magic would jump in, and you're not catching the ball because I lost my hands with that free base, and then I was doing Quaaludes too, so I lost my hands. And so I came back with, "Hey, Magic, let's run that back." And so, if you look at this pass you just made to me, you got a lot of spin on that ball, and that's why I'm losing that handle. And then Kareem, you serve, you shooting your sky hook from the right side, and I jump on the right side to receive it on the other side when you miss it. You're not missing that many, but when you do miss, it's rolling off the rim on the other side. So I say I'm in the denial part of everything.
You got philosophical.
I got all kinds of stuff for those boys. And they would just shake their head. And then we would come in on a trip, and Kareem was like, "Okay." I'm like, "Oh boy, I hope he don't say ride with me." And I'm like, "Oh fuck." You know, you're getting out after the road trip, you jump in the car, and he's, "Yeah, man, we're gonna listen to some Coltrane. We're gonna sit and talk some tonight." He's blocking, you know, keeping me from going to be with Marvin Gaye and everybody else, all the other, you know.
Yeah, that was one that I always talked about when you was in New York City. Yeah, I'm a big fan of it. I never got the experience to go Club 54.
Oh, yeah.
Was it? Don't give up all the secrets. No Diddy, but don't give up all the secrets.
Yeah, well. But, you know, you could walk into the club, Studio 54, there might be a horse upstairs. Yeah, because it was like, it was new, exciting. You had Michael Jackson over here, you had Elizabeth Taylor over here, you had David Bowie over here, and you had all of the settings of everybody. And that was when I first tasted Coke, because everybody was doing it, so I did some lines and I didn't like it. And shortly after that, I was traded to the Lakers. But before that happened, I remember wearing some platform shoes a little bit, you know, because at that time we had the bell bottoms and the platform.
So you really 7 foot then?
Yeah, so I was coming down the stairs, I hurt my ankle and shit. And before that, right after that, David Thompson hurt his ankle coming down those stairs in this platform shoes. He was out. I was not out because I was like, I can't go out like this. That I broke my ankle in Studio 54. But Studio 54 was live. It was just, it was different. It was debauchery in a way. Yeah, it was, whoo boy.
You go from there to the Showtime. I mean,
Showtime.
Form, Magic, Kareem, you doing their thing. It's just, it's such a prestige, man.
It was prestige, and we had just a beautiful team. We had a great coach in Bill McKinney. And McKinney was like really righteous with me. And then when he fell off the bike, I ended up with Westhead. Westhead thought, well, you know, by attacking Spencer, I could set an example, and I wasn't having it. So I just went off in the deep end. I had my
but at that time, you was grown man business. It wasn't.
Grown.
You don't even. You're not that 19-year-old kid that can be influenced. You set in your ways. You got a firm stamp on the NBA and not only NBA but the basketball world. So
then I had certain anger that I was going through from the case. I didn't know I had what's the stuff that the Army guys had? PTSD from the case and from what was going on in my life in Mississippi as a kid, the beatings and the stuff that we took. And so I had all of that stuff pushed down. And so here I am, and this man is telling me, don't protect Cooper, don't do this, don't do that. And I'm like, man, this is my 11th year. What are you talking about? And he was a rookie. It was his first year.
It took a while, but it was well-deserved for you to get that jacket, that orange jacket. Being inducted into the Hall of Fame, I always thought of you as a Hall of Famer. When you did get in and you were recognized, and we know why. We don't have to.
Well, I'll tell you what happened. You know, first of all, when you're doing the blackball of an athlete, you got to erase his history. So they erased all my history in terms of the Olympics, all of my years as an All-Pro first team. And if I wasn't an All-Pro first or second team, I couldn't be on the All-Star team. That was a written rule. Do you know, to this day, I was the #1 draft pick, but they have me down as the number 32 draft pick. And how do you become the 32nd draft pick if you're playing on the floor? So all of that kind of stuff was just there. And one night, I'm watching the game, a college game, and Charles Barkley just got angry and stepped up and said, this was one of the times they had rejected me. Charles said, this is not fair. I'm not going to take it anymore. And we can't take this from this young man. He did all of these things for the game of basketball, because the NBA had 14 teams. With me breaking that 4-year rule, we expanded to 30 because we had players to pull from. So, and that's when it become. Jerry Colangelo called me and said, I'm gonna work it out. We're gonna make sure you get your due this year. And I didn't believe him, but you know, Jerry was with me when I went to the Supreme Court. He was the other owner, the only other owner that stood with me and Sam Schulman.
It's huge. It was long overdue, but well deserved.
Well deserved. And you know, the thing about it, in a spiritual sense, you know, it may not come when you want it.
It's right on time.
Right on time.
It's right on time.
Right on time.
Thank you, man. Everything that you've done for me. I surely appreciate you. I love you. You're my big brother for life, man. Thank you so much. The wonderful. I mean, it all comes down to this man right here, and he helps so many people, not only themselves, but their families. So appreciate you coming on the Humidor. Make sure you handle your business. Never let your business handle you. We'll see you next time on the Humidor.
Who want the smoke?
We don't smoke cigars from the corner store like to welcome you to the Humidor.
Who want the smoke?
We don't smoke cigars from the corner store like to welcome you to the Humidor, right?
Who want the smoke?
We don't smoke cigars from the corner store like to welcome you to the Humidor.